Hey family, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Edna Howard, founder of Voices of Encouragement and a Woman's Heart podcast, which is your go-to destination for exploring faith, inspiration, health, and personal growth. And today on the show, we will be covering breaking down barriers and empowering individuals, especially those from marginalized communities. Get ready for an inspirational, insightful conversation with a powerful guest who has a passion for fostering inclusive leadership, community involvement, and she serves as a beacon of hope to many in her community who are navigating life's challenges. So get ready to be inspired, get ready to be blessed, and get ready to receive. Hi, and welcome back to Woman's Heart podcast, a wellness podcast where we explore faith, inspiration, health, and personal growth. I'm so excited that you're joining me for another empowering message because today we have an amazing guest joining us, Dr. Carmela Daniels. Dr. Daniels is a licensed clinical social worker, CEO of Dr. Carmela Daniels Mentoring and Counseling LLC, and she's dedicated to advocacy for marginalized communities, which I absolutely admire. And with her extensive experience in higher education, mentoring, and counseling, Dr. Daniels brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise. So I want you to recognize her as the leader she is. She's a leader in her field. She's passionate about fostering inclusive leadership, supporting individuals on their journey in personal success. So think of me as your chief encouragement officer, getting you ready to be inspired and empowered as we delve into the world of Dr. Daniels. Welcome to the show today, Dr. Daniels.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're so excited about you sharing your insights and expertise with us, and we're ready to receive, okay?
Thank you so much.
So let's jump right on in. I would love for you to tell me who you are from your heart, share from your heart who you are and what makes you get up in the morning.
So thank you so much again for having me here in this space. Yes. I'm very humbled to participate and be connected with you today. So I'm Dr. Carmela Daniels, born and raised in Ohio. And what matters to me or what gets me up in the morning is the service to those who are in need. And I get up every morning making sure and trying to make sure that I seek what my purpose is in this life, what I'm supposed to be doing, and making sure that that service is done with integrity and done in an intentional way so that those who need it are impacted by that. And so I'm a mom of two, a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they keep me very busy. And I'm very honored to be their mom and the growth that we all go through every single day in order to get to where we are. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been doing that for many, many years and own and operate my own private practice to help support women and other marginalized populations in coaching, mentoring, and other supportive clinical referral services and contracting. So that's a little bit about who I am.
Well, that's amazing. You got a lot to offer the world, which I appreciate. So who has inspired you? Who or what inspired you to get into this line of work? Because that line of work is very needed in the world. It's very intentional. So what is your why? What is your why?
My why, how I got started and introduced is as a child, my family needed supportive services. And so a social worker came to support us. And my godmother, who is a clinical counselor, I just wanted to do everything that she did. And so that's kind of how I got introduced to the profession of social work and continued to grow and get my education in that way. As a first generation college student of my family, I wanted to work hard and just provide a better way for myself. Initially, I didn't know exactly what this path was going to look like, but my why has become more focused and fixated on trying to, again, change and improve the social impact in our world and ensuring that populations are treated fairly and that we have equality. Working with students and teaching in the field of social work, the classroom is an important space. So my why is to make sure that the generation that is out there now and the future of clinical care, the future of service to populations and community engagement is better, that people holistically understand that we all have a role that we need to play in order to making sure that we create a space that's good and better for everyone. So my why is to keep and create a world that my children can be safer in, and that they feel safe enough in order to raise their families and contribute to society as well.
I love that. That is so good. So with that said, you have multiple roles that you play. So given your extensive experience as a licensed clinical social worker, CEO, educator, and board member, how do you effectively balance these multiple roles and responsibilities?
Well, it takes some navigation. I give honor and space when I say how busy I am, that my children many times make the ultimate sacrifice of time and space. And so I don't take that for granted. And so looking to manage and juggle and balance all the things that I do, I really just try to make sure that I don't take on more than what I can do, so that I am intentional in every single space. I'm very impactful in regards to making sure that when I am able to balance everything, that I can leave a lasting imprint. I'm intentional about my self-care and making sure that I take care of myself in every way that feeds me. And so, and being unapologetic about that and making sure I stay true to that is also key. And so the balance of that is just really making sure that I can give service and making sure that people have what they need, being intentional and showing up in spaces in order to make and create change.
I love that. That is so good. So you probably have some strategies that you employ to maintain that focus so you don't get burned out. So what are some of the things you do for self-care?
So for self-care, I travel a lot, and I try to be intentional with friends and family, getting together for dinner, doing my own self-care, whether it's just I'm a binge watch a TV show. I do a lot of reading, a lot of journaling, follow a lot of women of color, and learning different things that are outside of the profession of social work, and really just trying to enhance my personal care. I make sure that I subscribe to things that feed my soul, like the Sarah Jakes book club or Calm Box, or other things that I can utilize in order to, you know, really just be my best self, and to do that more so. I think another part of this, as I spoke of my children, is that I teach them about their self-care. We have times where we make sure we identify self-care in the home, and teaching them to help balance what the things that they have to do, and do that in a healthy way. And what I realized also is there's no honor in burnout, right? There's no honor in being frazzled to the point of like you can't even understand where you are. We have enough of that already. It's already fall. I promise you, it was just January 1st. I know it was. I saw it. I was there. I saw January 1. And she long gone. We're in October, right? And we're in the fall. And so that's how I try to teach myself and my children that time is the most precious commodity that we have. And so you got to make the most of it. So be intentional and honor those spaces, and really perform good self-care in order to perform good service.
That is so good. You know what? I could listen to you all day. You got some really good gold nuggets. I'm sure the audience is just like gleaning from this, but I love that. So I want to talk with you a little bit about your fostering that inclusive leadership that you have developed. So you've been recognized for your commitment to fostering inclusive leadership. Could you share some practical strategies that individuals and organizations can implement to create a more equitable and inclusive environment? And that is so critical right now in our world.
It absolutely is. What I think the first thing I want leaders to understand, or those who are looking at fostering environment, is that you have to be intentional, right? And so being intentional doesn't mean that you are not able to honor either goals or missions and values of your organization. Being intentional means that you understand that as a leader, that you sit amongst future leaders and current leaders. The leader starts not with the title. It starts with being intentional and being connected to other people. I created a platform called The Warmth of Leadership. And so how I include inclusive leadership, it comes from the warmth of leadership. And so I created an LLC called the Warmth of Leadership. And what it means and what it's about is being a leader from within. It's touching people from within in order to get the results and the connectivity to what the goals are. Mm-hmm. A leader who has no followers is just taking a walk. You're just walking by yourself. People are not invested in who you are. People feel like you're not invested in them, and they just let you walk. But an inclusive leader makes sure everybody is in the journey collectively. We're not perfect. It's not about being perfect. It's not about disciplinary. It's about being connected. And so what I do to foster that is just to bring my authentic self to the space, and to create and be intentional about making sure that space is safe for others. We all need a space where we are able to learn, grow, and develop. We need a space to help us to make sure that what we're doing, how we're doing it, who we want to impact is influential. And so leaders can create inclusive environments by just being intentional in that space, learning what people need in order to be their best selves, and then honoring that, but then also showing as an example to those who are around you, this is how I am as a leader. Some days it's a good day. Some days it's a bad day. Some days it's self-care day. And honoring that authentic self is how you create inclusive leadership. It's not performative. Inclusive leadership is an action that has to be acted out every single day. And every day there needs to be an adjustment or a reframing of that in order to make sure that people get what they need.
Absolutely. I love that. That is so, you know what? We just gonna have to have a whole nother podcast on leadership, because you went there. Tell me a little bit more about you said it's called the Warmth of Leadership, that LLC. Tell me a little bit more about that. I'm interested to find out, is that a support group, or do you have webinars? Do you have workshops? What do you do with that?
So right now it's more of a presentation workshop. The Warmth of Leadership has been created in order to make sure that leaders, future leaders, current leaders, people who think they may aren't a leader but just want to know, it's really about just how we carry ourselves out and work with people every day. It doesn't have anything to do specifically with, oh, I'm the VIP, or I'm the VP, or I'm the vice president. It has nothing to do with the title. It's all about the intentionality and the action. And the Warmth of Leadership came after I was doing a job and I didn't get the job. And my leader, it wasn't that the leader told me that I didn't get the job. It was how it was done. It had like a coldness to it. And so I was like, oh, that was kind of cold. And so I was like, how can I look at this environment or this experience, this lived experience, and flip that to help support myself? And I was like, oh, let's try looking at the warmth of leadership. Because sometimes when you're the leader, you have to have hard conversations. You have to say, okay, Carmela, you didn't get the job. But these are the things I think that we can do from that. And so it's all about how we deliver messages. And that's how the warmth of leadership came. It came from a space of not just being authoritative, but being intentional. It came from a space of not being necessarily a democratic leader, but just being an empathetic leader. And how can those things help support people, the impact that they have? We spend a lot of time in work environments, right? Whether it's our own work, somebody else's job. We all laugh about being at the grocery store. We have to scan our own groceries. And people are like, I don't work here. I don't work here. I don't work here. Right? And so we're always in a leader role. We're always right. Something. So how do we, even when we don't want to, we just want to, get our own groceries, but we don't want to have to bag them, pay for them, and carry them to the car all the time. My point is that how do we do that in a way that leaves people feeling intact? Can we do that without harming people? Can we be inclusive in our leadership and break down barriers and racism and other microaggressions that harm people? That is what the warmth of leadership looks like.
I love it. This is that we just have to find out more about that. Next time we have a webinar, make sure you send me the link.
I will.
Be part of that. I think that is an excellent way to get the word out, and to also make leaders who are in a position right now to think about how their leadership is and how it's affecting the people around them. And I love what you said about if you turn around, ain't nobody following you, then you just walking.
You're just walking.
So, and that's so important. Is anybody, or do they follow you because you're in a position to be followed, but outside of work, would they follow you? That's the thing I think a lot of people need to think about too. Just because you're in a position, that's it. You might just be positioned to be able to direct people and delegate, but are you being that intentional leader? Are you being that person that's empathetic? Are you being all of those things that we need as a workforce to be able to be effective and to rise and work with excellence? So thank you for the work that you're doing in that space, because it's definitely needed.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So supporting, I love the fact that you do support marginalized communities and that you do give back in a place of community impact. So as a champion for marginalized communities, what specific challenges do you believe these communities face, and what interventions or policies can be implemented to address these challenges?
So I think that's a good question. I mean, there are many areas that these populations are underserved in. And so one thing I start with is that I tell my students in class, we are never far removed from the situation that we're helping clients to navigate. We're never far removed from the populations that we serve. We don't get our groceries from a different store. The populations that we serve have to shop in the same store that we do. They're affected by the same gas prices and food prices and all of these things that we are. We don't live in a different world. And so when we connect with that space and looking at how populations who are underserved or marginalized, we connect with that in a way that it is connects to our own humanity. I mean, and many policies need to be changed. Reproductive health, that doesn't affect just my populations that I serve. That could affect my daughter, myself one day, right? We connect to it when we look at it that, oh, I might not be in treatment or I may not be in care, but I definitely serve the populations that do. And so I think that when we're looking at our political environment, when we're looking at policies, procedures, and employers, when we're looking at how our community functions, there's so many things that we need to change in order to do so. We have a homelessness population that's been greatly affected by the removal of encampments and people being criminalized for not having housing, but we're not really doing anything about fixing the price of housing, right? You want people to come in and apply for housing, but they need to have 6 months of income, but they can't get the income if they don't have the home, right? And then they don't have the home. It's more than looking at this is their problem. It's a we. It's a we. And so marginalized populations who need support are all populations that we all come in contact with, and it includes ourselves. Not everyone operates in a space of privilege, but all of us have privilege that affords us opportunities. And so I think that that's when we are looking at what can we do to create space. My goal is to create a change where I can be intentional with that, be impactful in that. And then that is what we do. People need food, clothing, shelter, jobs. I'm watching social workers lose jobs. And so we're trying to do so many things. The overhaul of the systems, we're well overdue. And so in every way and in every system, there should be something that needs to be changed in order to better people's lives.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That is so good. So one of the things that I know that you also do, I love that, first of all, that you're a community impact leader, right? That takes it to a whole nother level. And looking at it from a lens of who can I help, and how can I help? God can do nothing but bless that, right? And I love that about your spirit, and I can hear it, the conviction in your voice when you're talking. And I'm like, yeah, you are doing what God has called you to do. He's laid out the purpose and you're just walking in your power. And I love that.
Thank you.
With part of that too, you also have this amazing ability to mentor and help with professional development. So your organization focuses on mentoring and coaching. How do you believe mentorship can contribute to professional development of individuals, particularly in the field of social work and leadership?
I think that we all need a space where we can learn, grow, and be safe. And the old quote of "it's not what you know, it's who you know" is also connected to that. And so mentorship is so important. We need sponsorship. We need people to say our names in rooms where we're not standing. We need people to consider us or think of us. It's important to me that the reason why I am sitting in this space or in any space that I am in, I know that there's someone who's mentored me, coached me, and helped push me professionally. Even if it was in a space where I thought, okay, I didn't get a job or this opportunity didn't turn out right, but I still was intentional in that way. And so I think that it's important. And that's why I began to do mentoring and coaching. I have my own life coach. I have my own personal coach. So you can't, pour from an empty cup. I have to fill my cup also. I have to figure out what I need to do and get the support to do that. I understand how important and impactful that is, that we have someone that we can lean in. What I've learned in this journey is that everyone is not in a space to hear everything, and everybody can't help everyone. We all have to, utilize our resources in order to get to where we're trying to go. And every time, you can't call always your friends. You have to get those intentional, professional, or clinical supports in order to get to where you're trying to go. And so we create a space. I created a scholarship for social workers who are trying to pass their license exam. That's a barrier in our community. Is it about money? Maybe not. It's about just being intentional and say, hey, I'm here to support you in these goals. I'm here to mentor you or help you get testing supplies. In serving women in the community, I need to make a job change. Well, let's look at a resume. Let's look at a space to see what we can do to help you with interview questions. It's all about just looking at people collectively and holistically. And so that's why we've been doing mentoring and consulting and helping support those efforts. And really, the service that I do for my employment creates this so that many times some services can be offered for free. It's, we just want to be impactful. Everything is not bad. It's not bad about making money and having a business, but sometimes we just need to give back. Someone gave to me, and so I definitely intend to continue to pay that forward.
I love that. Yeah, the community give back is important, and having it factored into your own business model. Like that's like the key to staying connected with communities, because you're giving back and they're recognizing the fact that you are giving back because they know you in the community and you're connected and you're helping other people be better. Like I love that about just your whole spirit and your persona, because it's bringing it forth. It's like paying it forward. And I love also that you are able to draw from your own personal story of why you do what you do. And that is why you can do it with such intentionality to move forward in that. And then you are also creating a space for other people to see what you're doing, Dr. Daniels, and allowing you to move them in a better space. They see you doing it. They're like, what can I do to help others myself? Because it's like you're modeling the behavior. I love that.
Yeah, I used to be homeless. I used to be homeless.
So you have
I have lived experience. Yeah, I have lived experience of that. I used to, some days I just want to quit. And I created a journal about Sister Don't Quit. And so the things that I try to push out into the world are a lot of my lived experience. It's just a lot of my lived experience and how I have overcome, but that I overcome daily, that every day I have to continue to push through even when I just don't want to. I understand that. And I operate from a space of being intentional about that. And so that's what I try to pay forward is like, hey, I know what you mean. I know what that looks like. And I know what that feels like. And these are some things that we can put in place to help support your journey or others' journey, because that's how someone helped support me and mine.
Right. And it sounds like too, your test became your testimony, which then became coaching and mentoring, which comes out in other ways. You have a business that's wrapped around the community to be able to help others because you walked it out and now you're on the other side of it. And one of the things I say about life coaching, because I'm a life coach as well, it's about lived experiences and how you can now help other people kind of navigate the landmines or not even walk on the landmine to go different directions. So that's what life coaching is about. People get it caught up in their head. It's all about getting the certifications and all that. Yeah, that's true. But it's also about having life experience and being able to pour into other people to bring them from the dark side over into the light like you are. over into the light of what they could do and be different. So I love that you have that kind of anchoring, and it keeps you humble so that you don't get so far away and so far removed from the community. Which I love.
My aunt, yeah, absolutely. My aunt used to tell me, "Don't be so heavenly bound that you're earthly no good." And so you got to be in a space to help support people in a way that connects to humanity. And you're right, we can't float completely above the well, I've done this, and so I got mine, and you got to get yours. Well, yeah,
Right.
people do have to get theirs, but do we have to? Does it? Are we connected to their suffering and how they get there? Right? Why can't we create a path for people that they don't have to go through so many things in order to get to those same outcomes? There's no dishonor in that. They still have to work. They still have to put themselves forward. You can't do it for them. But if you can make a space for someone that's going to make their life a little bit easier, or that load or lift a little bit lighter, why wouldn't we do that? Why wouldn't we do? That's the same thing we do for our kids. I work hard so that my kids don't have to have the same environment, right? There's no dishonor in that they have a different environment, and that's a good thing. Right. That's a good thing. I've created a different path, and there was nothing wrong with my path. It had to be my lived experience, but it may not be their lived experience, and that's okay too. That doesn't make them any less that you haven't suffered enough in order to have something in this world. So I think that that's some of those things that we have to look at from the warmth of who we are, and really be connected to being intentional with people and their success.
Yeah, that's really true, and that's real. So, and I like that you said too, they don't have to have the same lived experiences, but your power comes from your lived experience, which allows you to create a different path for your family. And I believe that's what, every person should really look at it from that lens and that perspective of how, okay, yeah, you went through this, but that doesn't necessarily mean your children have to go down that path, because you're creating a platform to give them the resources and exposure so they don't have to go down that path.
Yep, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. My aunt, who I use a lot of cliches from, she's like, there's nothing wrong with what God has given you. You don't have to be embarrassed about that. And I think that really settled for me, that we don't have to have this necessary struggle all the time. If you have a number that you need, and I'm like, oh, well, just go Google it, but I have it because somewhere I'm connected to you having to find it on your own. Does that really help you in that moment? No. The number, here's your number that you need in order to make the call that you need to make. And you're not connected to the other parts of it in that way, other than I just helped someone when they needed it. And us looking at that and just being so intentional about that, constantly being intentional about that.
Right. It sounds to me too that you're a people connector, right? You say that to me all the time. It's like, oh, okay. But then I started to own it. I said, you really are a people connector, because you're connecting people with resources, with knowledge, with something they may need, and other people. And you sometimes just back out the way and let the people do what they do.
Let the rest of it go. Right. Let the rest of it go. Yep.
Yeah. So I like that. So with the, I have to shift the gears just a little bit, because I wanted to get back into the future of social work and what that could look like. Looking ahead, what do you see as the most pressing issues facing the field of social work today? And then what are some of the emerging trends or opportunities that you really believe will shape the future of that profession?
So I think that when we're looking at the profession of social work, what we need to look at for the future of social work is the humanity of persons and people in their care. What we understand is that people are hurting in our communities. Children are in foster care. Parents are being separated from their children for multiple reasons, whether it's by gun violence, drug and alcohol, untreated mental health, poverty, homelessness. I mean, the list goes on and on. And the future of social work is connected to the connection of humanity and helping people to navigate these situations, and that we have a future that looks promising, where we have funding, where we have resources, and we have clinical persons that are in place to help take care of those in our humanity. What I know about social work many times, that people are not coming to see the social worker because the day is good. Something has happened. That's just the nature of the nature of the beast. Either you're in hospice and palliative care, or you've been admitted to the hospital, or something happened where children's services had to come, or maybe you need to see someone to get food stamps. You're seeing someone based on a need. And the future of social work is to be able to pay attention to what that need is. Again, to put ourselves in the shoes of those that we serve, start from a place of humanity and looking at how we can do things better. We have to remove those judgments, and we have to remove other things that continue to create barriers for everyone. And so I think the future of social work really is going to be impactful for those who are coming in to understand that we have to be able to serve people who are different from ourselves. We have to understand what we need to know culturally, right? We need to understand. And if we don't have the understanding, get the understanding, find the knowledge base, get you a mentor, get connected with someone. I don't know how to work with people who are from Appalachia. Okay, let's find you a class. Let's find you somebody who works in that demographic area. Well, I don't know really what to do with, mental health, depression. Okay, well, let's look at some things there, right? We have to give people intentional care. And I think that's really what the future of social work looks like to me and for me. And we need to create spaces, like you said earlier, of mentorship. You can't just float in this space alone. It's too heavy of a lift to do so. That's the first thing. And it causes burnout when you do. And it causes you not to be able to be of service to others in the way that you could. And so I think the future of social work is dependent upon what looks like our political arena, where the funding will come. Should it come down to that? No. When things bad happen on the news, we're like, well, they should just be doing more. Right. But that's all connected to about who's sitting in the seats to help us do that more. Where does that money come from? Where does that support come from? So I think that that's what the future of social work looks like for me, is that we become more intentional with what we need to do and really act that out and charge our political arena and our those who we vote into office to help support those needs and really remove that judgment. And if we could just stop criminalizing people for their social services needs, that I think is primary for me. Can we just not criminalize people because they have a lack, or because they have an addiction, or because they're diagnosed with mental health? Can we not criminalize and reduce our pipeline to prison program through all these other various ways? We already can see and foresee the future of Black and brown bodies, babies, children who may end up in prison just from the school to prison pipeline program. Why is that a thing? That shouldn't be a thing in our community, that you're in the 8th grade right now, but we statistically think that in maybe 15 years, you'll be in prison based on your zip code. That's real serious. That's not a them problem. That's a us problem. That's a us problem. And so that's really what I want. I want people to not be criminalized for the lived experience that they have, but that we can create support to give people a better life. Because I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my children. I don't want that for anyone else.
That's so powerful. So powerful. And so I have a question. This is kind of bubbling out of my spirit, because how much do you think your faith has to do with the type of work you're doing right now?
It's 100% about your faith for me. And I really believe that providers in this profession should have a higher power or faith or something that they lean in on. Because when you're looking at the social aspects of the world, it's not pretty. Right. You see some hard stuff. And so, right, like, again, you're not coming to see a social worker because you got paid $1 million and your refrigerator is totally full and your car is brand new and it's full of tank of gas. No, it's probably all the less of that. It's probably your bank account is negative $1.4 million, or you're being, you got a student loan, or your kids got removed, or you got into a fight with your father's, children's father. Your faith is important because at night you have to lean in and say, did I do everything that I could today to serve those who needed it? Have I served my own family well? And have I served myself well? Is my higher power, is God pleased with what I have done? What you've done to the least of them, you have done unto him, right? And so what have we done, right? In that way, have we harmed people? Could we have done something differently or better? And it's not about being perfect, but it's about, can I get that together tomorrow? One day you feel like the world is on top of you. The other day you feel like that you're on top of the world. It varies. It varies. So I think that you do have to lean in. You got to lean into your higher power. I do. I read my scriptures every single day. I listen to things that help feed my soul. I'm very mindful about what I bring into my brain, what I watch on TV. things of that sort. That helps me, keeps me focused to do this work, because the work is very, very, very hard, very hard.
So I love that answer. And one of the things I always share with my clients, it's not the work, but the work.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at it from the perspective of the work that God has given you to do, and looking at it from that lens of how can I do what he has called me to do and be effective as a servant leader, community impact leader, and powerhouse that you are. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I do have one question too. I always just rapid fire, but the last question is, can you recommend any books that inspired you so the listening audience can go and grab that book, something that might inspire them that inspired you?
Yes. So I'm gonna tell you what's in my the memo by Minda Harts.
Okay.
The memo.
Yeah, she's on LinkedIn. I see her on LinkedIn a lot.
Yes, she is a fantastic author of, support of women of color.
Yes.
Navigating the work force. I'm Not Yelling by Elizabeth Leba, who is also another author that I follow. Rachel Rogers, We Shall All Be Millionaires.
Right.
Those are all books that I am constantly reading, and it's just feeding my soul. There's another one, I think it's called Bamboozled by Jesus. Bamboozled by Jesus by Yvonne Orji. Another great author about just how you think that life is going to go, and then God's like, no, this is the actual plan, and just really learn it. Yeah.
I thought it was gonna go this way. No, it's not.
Yeah. And my final one of my favorites is I Hope You Fail by Pinky. Let me make sure I got this right. She is the owner of Slutty Vegan. And she wrote a book called I Hope You Fail. And it is a Pinky Cole. I Hope You Fail by Pinky Cole. It's about looking at her failures that got her to where she is today. She's the owner of multiple slutty vegan restaurants, which I am a fan of. And so Minda Harts, Pinky Cole, Yvonne Orji, Elizabeth Leba, those are authors that I follow. Rachel Rogers, those are authors. Sarah Jakes, her work, all of her work. I'm part of her book club and things of that sort. And so those are some of the books that I'm reading. I journal, so my own journal, Sister Don't Quit, Stop the Self-Quitting. And there's another Black-owned journal calendar, Booked, BOOKD, that I also use. So those are just some of the, that's what's in my repertoire. Those are the books that I keep close to me to help me balance faith, corporate, money, and everything else.
I love that. So readers are leaders, right? So you already emerged as a leader with all of the reading that you do. And those are excellent books. So thank you for that. I'm glad I asked the question.
Yeah, I follow all of them. I follow all of those authors, and I stand on
business. Down the list.
Yeah, I stand on that. I have my list. You can ask me anywhere. What you reading? This is what I read right here. This one right here. This one right here.
All of those authors sound amazing too. I haven't read them all, but I read some, and I'm just like shaking my head going, wow, yes. So I'll be digging deep too and get some more books. I want to get audio books because every time I talk to folks, they're like, oh yeah, listen to that on Audible. I'm like, and I'm reading it. And I'm like, you can't stop and read all the time, but you can certainly listen in the car. You can let your car be your university. You can listen while you're taking
absolutely
all of those ways to read a book besides read the book. But so thank you for that. And thank you for being here. And thank you for what you do in the world and impacting the world around you. We appreciate you so much, Dr. Daniels. So
thank you so much.
I just want to say that, if you could just please share like your information with the audience, whether it's a website or email. So if they want to further the conversation with you, we would love you to share that information.
Absolutely. My website is Dr. Carmela Daniels, DrCarmela Daniels, DANIELS.com. That's one word. And people can find me on LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn is Carmela Shackelford Daniels, Dr. Carmela Shackelford Daniels. I'm also the same for Facebook and for Instagram. And so I look forward to connecting and learning more about people and any services or support that I can provide. I want to say thank you for allowing me to be in your space and the work that you are doing. Thank you for that our voices are being upheld and heard through this platform, through this podcast that I'm sure are reaching many, many, many. And I want to say thank you for having me with you today. And I hope that I've said something that has enlightened or supported someone and encouraged them to carry on in their journey of what they're going to do.
You've said a lot of gold nuggets. I mean, I just probably the audience is going to be taking such copious notes from this particular podcast. Just everything, the gold nuggets you dropped today, amazing. So thank you. And it has been a pleasure, really been a pleasure having you on the show. And I want to thank you for just like taking the time out of your schedule to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your passion along with your expertise. And so you truly are inspiring and empowering and impacting the world around you. Thank you again for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it so very much, Ms. Howard. Thank you.
And as we wrap up, if you've enjoyed our time together, remember to share, like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. You can connect with me at voemetoday@gmail.com. And if you want to learn more about the coaching services and resources that Voices of Encouragement offers, please reach out to us on voicesoфencouragement.com, because we are empowering minds and transforming lives. And remember, be bold, be true, be kind, be you. And until we meet again, Ephesians 4:1, walk worthy of the call for which you were called. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about the way we move in corporate America, the way that we are impacted, and how our white counterparts really do have a lot to do with the way we show up every day, right? So what
absolutely,
like, I mean, how can that be something that we can start to effectively create the support systems for one another? Because I think we need it as Black women. We definitely need to be able to plug into each other and understand that we ain't going through this by ourselves.
Yeah,
right?
No, it starts from being intentional. That's why some of the books that I named are at my beck and side, right? Like, I'm not yelling, right? Let's just go with how we talk. Women of color, we talk loud. We talk loud, we clap when we laugh, we use our hands, we do all of these things in that are part of who we are many times just culturally. We just do what it is that we do. And we don't have to know one another in order to have that universal connection, because those are our ancestors. Their ancestors know each other, so we know each other.
They just
right?
showing
so
up.
that's it. We don't even, people are like, do you know her? Nope, I've never seen that woman a day in my life. That's why we're on cruises and going,
that's
hey,
your girl, though. That's your girl.
And never seen that woman one day in our life. I thank God for the Black women who are intentional with me. We have to create those spaces in work environments, because when you're getting phone calls and women are emailing you saying, hey, thank you so much for wearing your natural hair to the meeting. I was kind of worried about that. Not the presentation. We're worried about how hair was look
natural, right?
If we bust out laughing, or if we get upset, that's seen as aggressive. But our counterparts are passionate. You see how those words are different?
The different words, like, or I have been told, and I haven't been told, I watched my mom model this behavior. You don't cry at work. So that's what you learn. That Black people, not just women, but Black women, I will specifically say that I always taught my girls don't cry in the public, right? Because it's considered a weakness. But our white counterparts, they get to cry at work and all of that, and it's considered that she just upset. But you start crying at work, that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother level. So I always say, if you're gonna cry, go in the bathroom.
Don't
let them see you cry, basically. Don't let them see you sweat.
Because there's a book by Unique Redwood called White Women Cry and Call Me Angry, a Black women's memoir on racism. And I as soon as I seen the title, purchase, buy. I need to know what this means, right? Because you're talking about a real thing. They can cry in the workforce, and then it gives women of color this hyper masculine alpha. We're constantly operating in these alpha roles, not because we don't want to be in our softness as women, we don't get the space to be soft as women. Just like you said, you told your daughters, if you got to cry, go in the bathroom and cry, because you're telling them something that we all know as a lived experience.
Right. We learned it.
You want a windmill fight, and Karen can throw something across the room, but Carmela better not. They calling the police.
You gonna get ushered out.
yeah. You're going. They
gonna usher you out.
Oh, that to the car. You're going to the car.
Right.
And God, and can we just be honest? If you get the police call, we thanking God if you make it out alive. Right. It can be something simple, so simple.
Yes.
When you're at work and you're seeing people who exhibit true racism, right? I had a young Black colleague who worked with me in the VA, who white peer was just harassing her, being nasty. Her husband was involved. And they barely did anything about it. I'm sitting on the next call, and I hear like the chief giving that same white woman all these accolades. Ain't this the woman that got the complaint about the racism and the stalking of the other peer and calling it? What are we doing with that? But if that had been a woman of color, if it had been in the reverse, it just never would have been allowed. It never would have been allowed. And we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about how all the skin and kin and all of those things. And we have to navigate all of that in the workforce. It is constant. Why are you so dressed up? Right? All of those things. Why you, X, Y, and Z. Or if you don't spend time with people outside of work, then you're seen as so those are traumas for us. We don't want to do that.
Really is. And sometimes you're trying to spend more time with the people you don't even like. So you're trying.
I'm not telling me to come for no meal.
Yeah. Happy. So it's a whole lot going on. So I feel like that's real. And you get a ping. Understanding those nuances and how to navigate the landscape is why we need a support system for Black women, and so we can have these kinds of conversations and help our young sisters up the ladder. They don't have to walk on the same landmines.
They don't.
Why would you want them to?
Exactly.
Help you not have to. And the way that we help you not have to is because our lived experiences now, we're saying, this happened to me, I don't want this to happen to you. And if it does happen to you, this is how you need to handle it. As opposed to, well, yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah. Oh, well, I got over it, so you will too. No, this is how I am. No, niece, I got this. Let auntie get this one. Right. You go ahead, you reroute that way. I got you right here. And sometimes we have to just literally put our hand out and say, no. I'm going to create a space for a young woman of color. I'm going to create space for a Black woman. I'm going to be intentional about that, because I know those spaces are so limited, and we have to be unapologetic about it. And I want women, anyone listening, create your safe spaces. Stop doing harm in spaces with people who are not serving you in a well. You don't have to eat good meals with bad people. I'm not going to go eat dinner with people. I'm not. Food costs too much money. I come to enjoy this meal. I'm not sitting in no meal where I got to stuff this food down and get myself together and struggle. No, I'm not doing that.
That was good. No, I truly believe that we got to have that the support system, yes, but then also mental toughness. Like, that's the key right there. It's like developing that mental toughness in that space that you don't know what's coming at you every day. You got to walk in there because you really don't know. And it's a mental thing. A lot of it is psychological warfare more than anything else. And so understanding how to navigate the psychological warfare, that you're about to walk into a war when you walk into that business environment, that corporate environment. So how do you navigate this thing? And some of our young women don't know how to.
They don't.
And they need to be taught how to, and not take it offensively, because it's designed that way. So now you got to learn how to psychologically navigate that thing.
Yeah, you got to do it. And people want to say we're the angry Black women and all that. We're not angry. We fight in psychological warfare. And the fact that you think that I'm angry, that in these spaces, right? That's part of it. That's part of it. But I may be angry that I'm constantly having to navigate myself. I tell a lot of women, be mindful when you're shifting, right? Or when you're shrinking. There's a difference in that space there. There's a difference in that space there. If you're shrinking in, I'm not going to say how I worked well on that project because No, We work collectively on that project in order to meet the goals effectively for the population that we serve. Stop shrinking in because we have to
You
learn
don't
that. Yeah,
want to
we have
seem
to.
braggadocious. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
talk
You
to
still humble and you still did the work. You can still say
exactly.
I did the work and be humble in that.
And this is
Yeah,
what
I did that. That
and
was
it's
me.
okay to say that. And I think one of the things that I've seen, because I work with women, high performing women, is they struggle with saying their greatness. Like they struggle with, how can I say so I won't feel like I'm bragging? You ain't bragging. You just
Mm-mm.
doing what Joe does over here when he talks
Absolutely,
about. And I listen
absolutely.
between my language and their language and some of the men that talk about what they do, and they don't apologize. They're like,
No.
I did this and these are the things that I did and I'm walking in my power. But women of color, sometimes we shudder back. We
Yeah.
don't want to share the greatness that we just experienced in a project or what we did, and how we developed a application, whatever it is we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We try to be like, well, what is that about? That's the thing with working through that in your head. It's like, okay, this is not what we need to do. We need to go this way, so that now you're feeling empowered when you're
Yeah.
talking about the successes you've had, the things you've done, the people you've helped, all of that. That's not being braggadocious. That's just being who you are and walking in your power. There's nothing wrong with that. Now,
Yep.
that's different from trying to be a superwoman.
Yep. That's a whole different thing. And there's no, just like there's no honor in the burnout, there's no honor in not honoring yourself.
Mhm.
There's no honor in that. Nobody is going to applaud you for how quiet you are about the work that you did.
Right. Because guess who? Nobody gonna notice it. If you don't say nothing, advocate for yourself. And I found it's funny, I was talking with someone and she said, oh, I just love the fact that you advocate for yourself. I was like, who else is gonna advocate for me? Okay, nobody. She says, you just so good at, yeah, because I've learned to be good at it. Negotiating my rates, doing all of those things that I've had to learn to do, because I could easily take whatever you need, but if and then just keep going that way. But learning the building blocks of how to
Absolutely.
be and navigate as a consultant and as a coach, that's important. And being able to pour that into other people, teaching them that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Get that bag. This is how you get your bag. Don't
Right.
be weird about asking folk about money that they owe you. Your
Right.
intellectual property ain't for free.
Right.
Pay me. It's Dr. Daniels when we walking up in these meetings.
That's
It's not, hey, you, hey,
right.
right? And giving other women that same accolade. How you doing? Miss Howard, how you doing? Or however you want to be. I'm gonna hit you with all that, because publicly we have to set these standards, because we're constantly being knocked down. The bar is constantly being raised. We see it with Kamala, right? People can't even say Kamala. When we start struggling about Kamala, that ain't no hard name to say.
Like a
Madam
struggle,
President,
right?
then.
Like,
Madam President, I'll get
right.
what you
That's
trying
what you
to do.
say.
Whatever you trying to do. She could be twirling all in the world. I'm rocking with that sister, because I know everybody's gonna be looking at her that she got to do it 10 times more.
And better.
Ain't nobody bragging like a mediocre white man. Ain't nobody bragging like that. Ain't nobody, right?
That's real. That's real.
Yeah, you mediocre and you're taking credit
And
of
you
somebody
get to get
else's
all
work.
the credit, and
Yeah.
And
My friends.
I was talking with my oldest daughter, and it was funny because she was telling me how she just brought in another a recruiter, and she found that they responded to this recruiter a little differently than they respond to the people of color, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I say they, I mean her white counterparts. They're like, oh, well, she's just amazing. They don't even know her. She just started. She don't even have more experience than the other people, but because of who she is with her color of her skin, she's immediately accepted.
That's right.
To fight for the acceptance. We have to, and they're still fighting for the acceptance. They work there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they've been there for maybe 5 years or more. They just bringing this new chick on. They don't even really know her. But it's just the observation of that. And it's like, what is going on? Well, this has been going on forever. And it's just a game that you got to learn how to play very well, but don't let it discourage you, and don't let it take you out mentally, because the thing that you're looking at is the thing that we as a people become a change agent, and don't allow it to take you out. That's the key right there. Just don't allow it to take you out mentally because of the thing that you see, because it's designed that way to make you feel less than, to make the people around you feel less than. And she might just be mediocre as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the color of her skin and the privilege, they automatically are drawn to her, which is hilarious. They don't
Mm-hmm.
even know her.
Yeah, yeah. And Donald Lawrence, his song says, systems are designed to break our confidence. That's
That's real.
exactly
They
what
are.
they are. When I
Mhm.
heard that in his song, I was like, oh my God, that is exactly what it is. They're designed to break your confidence. They're designed for you to sit in a space and shrink in, while others who come to the table with much less are applauded just
Right.
because of the color of their skin. And one of my friends is like, you just never heard anybody brag more than a mediocre person, because yeah, they're gonna make it be all they can be. And this is what else, they don't ever have to really prove that either. They don't have to prove whether or not they can do what they say they can
They
do.
just show up with may not even have finished school. You got your doctorates and now they're your supervisor, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
It's
then like people,
amazing to
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Amazing, you know. So
amazing, amazing. People are, critical of Kamala for when she was a prosecutor. Now, had she been probably a white male, she would have been seen as a person who cleaned up our streets and
right.
made our community safe. But
Exactly.
what do we hear? We hear all these negativities about her being a prosecutor. She's not obliged to give people grace who are breaking and harming people in our community because she's a Black woman.
Exactly.
Why is that the thing? If she was a man, she would be applauded for making sure that the drugs were off the streets and people who were committing whatever she's prosecuted people for. That's coming up a lot. Why is that coming up? Because that's a
Right.
Black woman.
Right. That's
Nobody else is going through all of them changes. Nobody else is being accountable to that. It's so
exactly.
deep. And I hope that Kamala has, and every woman, not just her, everybody has a good sister program. But I mean, who's your board of directors? I'm talking
Right.
about sisters. I'm talking about the ones you can call, they eat, cry, use all the 4-letter words that you can figure it out, all that going on, and that you have a good board of directors that help support you when life is hard, and that we can and journey on. And I think that that's what every woman in corporate America needs today, because we are fighting a battle that is
it's an invisible battle, though. That's the thing. Because you don't know that walking in, but you won't know that as a young Black woman coming out of college, HBCU, whatever. And now you know some of it, but you don't know all of it. Teaching you how to survive it. You know, that's, and now thriving in it. And I think that us, the women that have walked through it, it's our responsibility to reach back and make sure our girls are good. That's what it is, making sure our girls are good, making sure that they can thrive in it and not have to feel like they're struggling or something they said or did made them feel less than, because their greatness shows up when they walk in the room, Black excellence. But they're consistently trying to break that down. So I think it's important to able to have a support system. That's the key.
Absolutely. You got to. You can't do it alone. If you do, you're going to struggle a lot harder. So trust your sister. Trust your sister. Give her a chance, right? And allow yourself to be given that same chance, and connect with other people. That's what I want people to take from that. It's like, be intentional with another woman that can help you carry forward. Trust what she's saying. Until you know that you maybe can't do that. But don't go into it in the space of, I don't need her, or she's my competition. I'm not your competition. We are in this walk together. We collectively.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Which is why it's important to have those mentorships. And like you said earlier on, and I love this after the podcast discussion.
This is the after party right here.
We put this on after the podcast discussion is a little deeper. Okay, go a little bit deeper. And I love this because I think it's very needed. And I pray that, as we get this out there, that the audience even responds even more to this after the podcast show. Because you just gave me an idea, dropped it in my spirit, and we're going to keep this thing moving.
Good. I love it. What
is the last thing you'd like to say to encourage a young sister in corporate America that needs a cold cup of water, needs reassurance, needs a kind of a spark in their confidence again, because their confidence has been shook because of something somebody said, did, or didn't do?
I want that young lady to, first of all, understand that this is their appointed time, that you're in the right space at the right time. But create a space, create your board of directors. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone, just like how you and I met. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone find someone who's going to be intentional with you in order to support you in that way, and create and build that. Get you a mentor, find you a space, look and see what you're looking at, change what you're reading, change what you're watching, ask God to center that energy for you, journal, get therapy if you need it, because this stuff is real, right? We can have Jesus and our therapist and a good mentor and good medicine if we need it. Ain't no shame in any of that, and really work hard to figure out what your purpose is, but get you a good support system. I think we're, like Rachel Rogers says, we're like 95% of the 5 closest people that are to us. So what you are incorporating yourself with every day is a reflection of who you are. So be mindful of what that looks like in your circle, and get your supports and figure it out from there.
I love that. That is so good. That's such great advice. And again, this is a brand new after the podcast show discussion. So you just laid it all out, Dr. Daniels. Thank you so much again.
Thank you
for being on the show, for staying after the show and having another discussion. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.